Hello, welcome to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis, and today we are talking about underrated albums. I've been thinking a lot about what makes an album underrated, over the last week or so, and I finally realized that what draws me to this conversation is that we're all about the subjective here at Papa Nick's Music, right? Virtually every video I do, I've got the subjectivity notice. So we firmly believe that the artistic appreciation is an inherently subjective thing here at Papa Nick's Music. There's no such thing as objectively good or objectively bad music. There's only music that we like and music that we don't, etc., etc., etc. I'm fascinated with that. I love having the conversation about things that are subjective, as long as we all agree that it's subjective. That's the kicker. And when you identify an album as underrated, what you're really doing is you're making two subjective statements and jamming them together. On the one hand, you're looking at this album that you really like. Okay, so that's subjective. But you have a sense that other people don't. Maybe they just ignore it. Maybe they actively dislike it, whatever. That's subjective. It's subjective when we're looking at what the other people think about it, but also your sense of what those people think is subjective. So you can't really know if something is underrated or not. It's all intuitive and it's going by gut. You're going by your sense of what is and is not considered good based on what limited interaction you have with other people, or the reading that you've done, the critics that you follow, whatever. And this is all subjective. It's just like this world of subjectivity closing in on itself. And we can never say that we are daunted by subjectivity here at Papa Nick's Music. Oh, no. We embrace the subjective. So today I'm going to talk about 3 albums that I think are underrated. Not worrying about doing the subjectivity notice. I already talked about it earlier, and this is obviously all very subjective. So, also, excuse me, there is no intended relative quality implied by the arrangement of these 3. I'm not doing my top 3. These are not my holy trinity of underrated albums or anything like that. These are just 3 good examples of what I think of as underrated albums and why this is all subjectivity feeding on itself. Cool. The albums themselves are arranged chronologically by the artist. So, no ranking going on here. Ready? Okay, here we go. Number 1, my first underrated album. I am a big fan of Bachman Turner Overdrive. I did a BTO album ranking video sometime in the distant past. I love BTO. They were one of my favorite bands when I was a kid, and I still listen to their music. I love BTO. And when we talk about what is, rated as opposed to underrated, most fans, if you're talking with BTO fans, most fans are going to say that the best BTO albums are Not Fragile and BTO 2, right? We've got a good logical argument that these are the most popular albums because these are the albums that spawned the biggest hits that they had. The biggest hit that they had was You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. That's off of Not Fragile. That's followed closely by Taking Care of Business and Let It Ride, which are both on BTO 2. So it makes sense. These are the 2 top-rated albums in the BTO catalog. There is one album that a lot of BTO fans just really don't care for, based on what I can tell, based on conversations I've had with fellow BTO fans. We're all out there. Based on reading I've done, videos I've watched, stuff like that. Most BTO fans would be just as happy to pretend that the album Freeways never existed. that Randy Bachman never recorded this thing, that it just is not there. They tend to ignore it, and I think this is, as a result, a very highly underrated album. I understand why it gets the dismissive reaction that it gets among the fans. People who like BTO generally like hard rock with a little bit of a boogie influence to it, maybe a little bit of jazz guitar influence, because that is what BTO does, and that's not really what what this album is doing. When you look at the history of the band, from 73 to 75, 73, 75. So 73, 74, 75. We've got a 3-year span here where they recorded and released 5 albums and toured extensively. So they were working. They were cranking stuff out. They were working, virtually 365 days a year. And that is, that's the bulk of their catalog right there. That span of time. And when they got to the end of that span of time, they had like 3 more albums, 3, maybe 4 more albums that they were contractually obliged to provide to their label, Mercury Records. And so they're working on the next album. Now, Randy Bachman produced all of the work up to this point. He produced their first 5 albums. He was a primary songwriter. Fred Turner wrote a lot, but any given album, at least half the songs are going to be Randy written or co-written, maybe a little over half. And because Randy was doing all the production, Randy was playing the bulk of the guitars, even after they recruited Blair Thornton, who was a decent guitarist in his own right. And so Randy was doing a lot of the work on this. And when it came time to record this thing, Randy was stretching the boundaries of what he could do. He was stretching the boundaries in terms of the songs that he was writing and in terms of how he was recording. And some of those boundaries were boundaries that the fans didn't want him to stretch. They were boundaries that the other members of the band didn't want to stretch. The other members of the band were happy doing, the same stuff that they had been doing. And there are several songs on this album that would work equally well on earlier BTO albums. Excuse me, Just For You. That could have been an early BTO song. My Wheels Won't Turn could have been an older BTO song. Freeways could have been an older BTO song. Life Still Goes On, I'm Lonely, the one song on the album that Randy didn't write, could have been an older BTO song. That was written by Fred Turner. But of these 8 songs, the rest very definitely are breaking the mold. We've got Can We All Come Together, which we've got Easy Groove, BTO doing a dance song. Now, not a disco song, a dance song, like the Mashed Potato, right? We're talking about, the latest dance craze hitting the dance floor kind of a song, which went out in the 60s. And Randy's trotting one of those out here in 1977. Are you killing me? Are you kidding me? Shotgun Rider. Shotgun Rider is a Western song. It's not a country song. It's a Western song. And it is the one song off of this album that most casual fans are going to be familiar with, because it's the one song that's included if you've got a compilation that is trying to reflect the entire catalog of the band. The token Freeways track that they use is Shotgun Rider. And it's just no. That's not hard rock. That's not hard rock with a little bit of boogie or hard rock with a little bit of jazz guitar, which is everything they'd done up to this point. So I understand, I understand why the album flopped at the time, and I understand why most BTO fans are not that big a fan of it. But I still argue that this thing is worth a listen. The songwriting is good. The lyrics are a little bit spotty. Shotgun Rider has a goofy lyric. Easy Groove has, oh my god, a goofy lyric. But musically, this thing is fantastic. And I think more importantly, it's the best recorded album that they had released up to this point. All of the earlier albums, those first five, the canon, if you will, all have a dark, muffled quality to them that Freeways doesn't have. Freeways is crisp, it is clear, it is clean. I very much enjoy listening to Freeways, and I think it's a darn good album. I'm not saying it's the best album that they put out. No, I BTO2 and Not Fragile, those are their best albums. I agree with that. But Freeways is a very good album. It is, upper half, top tier of what they released. At least I think so. I think it's a very highly underrated album. While we're talking about hard rock, of course, let's talk about our second artist, Chris Isaak. Chris Isaak, very much not hard rock. I love Chris Isaak's work. Like BTO, I did a Chris Isaak album ranking not too long ago. And the common criticism of Chris Isaak is that all of his songs sound the same. He has a very distinctive style. This is true. But I don't... all of his songs sound the same is... it's the comment that you make because you're not familiar with it. If you're familiar with it, you can see the differences, right? I think all dogs of a certain breed look the same, but once I get to know individual dogs, I can see that they're different. It's that same kind of logic. Chris Isaak has a distinctive sound. Some of his, probably the majority of his songs are heartbreak that he is crooning about with a vaguely country yodel. And then there are occasional up-tempo, toe-tappy, borderline rockabilly songs to break the flow, so to speak. And most of his albums follow that pattern, and they have, the heartbreakers and the toe tappers, and for a lot of Chris Isaak fans, I mean, the gold standards are Wicked Game, Forever Blue, I said Wicked Game, I meant Heart-Shaped World. Forever Blue, Silvertone and Chris Isaak get mentioned a lot as being his best albums. San Francisco Days gets mentioned as being one of his best albums, right? But if you're talking with a Chris Isaak fan, those are the albums that you're talking about. You tend not to talk a whole lot about his 1998 release, Speak of the Devil, which I think is a shame, because I think this is actually one of his better albums. A very highly underrated album. We have fantastic heartbreak croony songs on here. Breaking Apart. The original version of Breaking Apart is on here, a song that he co-wrote with Diane Warren. And oh my God, is that a beautiful song. If you're looking for a good heartbreak song, it's hard to get better than Breaking Apart. We've got, let's see, what else? Don't Get So Down on Yourself. Oh, that's a heartbreaker. We've also got the up-tempo. We've got I'm Not Sleepy. Oh man, that's a rocker. We've got the title track, Speak of the Devil. We've got a little bit of borderline surf guitar in Super Magic 2000. I mean, this is a great, great album. It is, I believe, I could be wrong. I didn't look this up before I started the video, and I don't want to stop and look it up now. So there's a crawl down here if I'm wrong. This is the first studio album that they did of new original material with Herschel Yadovitz as the lead guitarist. And that comes through. Oh my God, his guitar work on this is impeccable. It's wonderful stuff. I really like Speak of the Devil. When I did my video where I ranked his albums, I had this, spoiler alert, I had Speak of the Devil ranked number 4 well above Silvertone and Chris Isaak, both of which are usually extolled as among the best that he did. And this thing's much better than either of those. So, my second underrated album is Chris Isaak's Speak of the Devil. Strongly, strongly recommended. My third underrated album is the album that actually started this thought process in my head. Every other Friday, I get together with some friends. Excuse me. We go to a local adult daycare that specializes in patients with early onset Alzheimer's. And for a couple hours on that Friday afternoon, we play music for them. We're mostly playing for ourselves. It's a place where we can play in public, where, because we're doing this as a volunteer activity, we don't have anybody telling us what we have to and what we cannot do. And so I'm making it sound much more philanthropic than it probably is. But every other Friday we get together and we play. And among those of us who are regularly there are two of us who are guitarists and singers. And so Scotty and I just, we swap back and forth. He'll do a song, I'll do a song. He'll do a song, I'll do a song. The percussionist and the bassist follow along, right? Now, last Friday, we had one of these, and I performed my version of a song that this is one of those songs that I sit and play if I'm just, if I'm sitting here and I just want to, sit and play a song. This is one of the songs that I play. I don't know that I've ever played it in public before, and I certainly hadn't ever played it at one of these Friday afternoon shindigs. But I trotted it out last week, and I played it, and it got a good reaction. They enjoyed it, and they asked me what the song, they knew what the song title was. They asked me who the writer was, who the performer was, where, love to hear it, where did that come from, they would say. And I told them that it was a song written by Randy Newman that appeared on his highly underrated Born Again. Oh, there we go. Born Again. I love this album. The song that I did, by the way, was Mr. Sheep. Look it up if you're not familiar with it. Randy Newman, in the wake of his success with the album Little Criminals, which had his hit, Short People, he had been recording albums for several years at this point. This is the first time he had anything even close to sales and popularity and money coming in as a result. And so, man, he bought in, right? In this next album, I love that cover art where he's in Kiss makeup, but with dollar signs. I love the detail. His kids in his family in the portrait also have the makeup, and his kids, I believe, I don't want to put my glasses on, but I believe his kids have scent signs over their eyes, which I think is just hilarious. This was the album that he released after Little Criminals. And because he had gotten some success, some of the album focuses on that. This is the album that has the song, It's Money That I Love, which I believe is his first I Love Money song. And it's something that he returns to several times from here going forward. On Trouble in Paradise, there was My Life Is Good, which is an I Love Money song. On Land of Dreams, there was It's Money That Matters, right? He keeps talking about money from this point forward, because I'm assuming because he's finally got some coming in. This album is overlooked. And I think it's overlooked because, A, it didn't sell much at all. I mean, I remember seeing it when it was first released because, I mean, this is a catchy cover. It stands out. I was not a Randy Newman fan then, so I didn't buy a copy of it, but I remember it when it came out. I have since never seen a copy of this thing available. I have, in fact, found one copy, this, which is not only a cutout, it was a used cutout, right? I mean, twice removed from the front lines. The album itself, I believe, is out of print in America. If you're buying it today, you have to buy either a used copy like I've got, or an import. This copy that I bought used is the original copy that I bought back when I was in college in the mid '80s. Okay, um, these things are rare. uh, Now, I'm saying that I'm building this up. I'll be honest, I haven't actually done a hard search. I haven't gone out to try to look to see. I did check Amazon to make sure that an American CD pressing isn't currently available, and that's true. If you're buying an American CD pressing, you're having to buy an old used copy. If you want a new CD pressing, you have to buy an import. So I mean, it's out of print, so it didn't sell much, and it's a an album that even a lot of Randy Newman fans they kind of back away from it. They think it's a little on the weird side. It's in many ways. Possibly, it is arguably the darkest album that he's recorded. It is in that conversation. If you're looking for an album that is just bitter. This is going to be one of your options. It is, even by Randy Newman's terms, darkly sarcastic. Even when the songs don't seem to be. One of the songs, for example, is The Story of a Rock and Roll Band. And if you listen to this, the casual listening, this is, he's talking about how he likes ELO. But this is Randy Newman. You can't listen casually. If you listen casually, you miss the point. That's the way the man operates. So either he is poking fun at ELO, but there are a few ELO-esque flourishes in the music, so maybe I think what is more likely is he is poking fun at the vapidity, I love that word, of the typical music fan. He They were six fine English boys who knew each other in Birmingham. They bought a drum and guitar, started a rock roll band. And Johnny played little violin, and Bobby Joe played the big violin, the one that stands on the floor. It's like, this is not. This is nowhere close to the story of ELO. But my take is, this is Randy Newman making a caricature of a typical rock music fan. The kind of fan who has a half-baked, half-assed grasp of what is going on, but really likes it because it's got a nice beat, right? The same fan that he is now interacting with on a regular basis because he had a hit with Short People, and he got a lot of pushback from that, from the people who were vapid, who weren't actually paying attention to the lyric and gave him shit for discriminating against short people, even though Randy Newman himself is 4 feet tall. Similar, the album closer is a song called Pants, which the lyrics boil down to, I'm going to take off my pants, repeated several times. And this is, if you're not paying attention to the lyrics, right? If you pretend that this is a language you don't understand, you can hear the lyrics, but you don't know what they mean. You're just listening to the sound. This is big. It's theatrical. It's bombastic. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a big sound to this, and this is arena rock and roll. But it's just a guy saying he wants to take off his pants. It sounds, but at its heart, there's not a whole lot there. And that kind of dark sarcasm runs throughout this. Mr. Sheep, the song that I performed last Friday, is a fairly, I'm trying not to use the word bitter or dark, and I'm having trouble coming up with one, but it's a fairly dark examination of the life led by somebody who lives life according to the rules. Pretty Boy is a grim view of the guy at the bar who takes everything as an affront. Even lighthearted songs, Spies. Spies, a frothy little number. There's not much to it. It's just there to entertain. The Girls in My Life, Part 1. It's just a kind of throwaway little tune. But this album has, it's got the dark, it's got the sarcasm. It also has really rich songwriting. There's one song in particular that I would pick out. It's called Ghosts. It is the token piano ballad on the album, and the music is just gorgeous, and the lyric is sad and judgmental at the same time. The song itself is an old man who's isolated himself, and because he's isolated, he's lonely, but he has isolated himself. We feel sympathy for him in the first verse, because he's stay with me for a little while. You've nowhere to go. I've nowhere to go. It makes me so happy when you smile at me. That's how it opens. You work all your life and you end up with nothing. Live in one room like a bum. Once I flew in a plane and I fought in a war. We lived in a castle and slept on the floor. And I don't want to be all alone anymore. I'm sorry. Now, we know that this is the old man. He's having a conversation with somebody, because that's how it opens. Stay with me for a little while. You don't have anywhere to go. I need some company, right? I'm glad you're here. I've got somebody to talk to. And so he starts talking, and he starts venting. And because he realizes that he's venting, how does he stop it? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. And excuse me. Up to this point, I'm listening and I'm thinking, oh, this is sadly sweet. But in the second verse, we see that the walls he's built around himself are not all. Out in the street, there's little colored kids playing where my own little boy used to play. So, okay, let's put a nice big ladle full of racism in here. This is a man who has intentionally isolated himself, and now that he is fully alone, in essence, he's complaining about it. But he knows he can't complain, because if he complains, he's going to lose this one last person who's visiting with him. So every time we get to the end of that, what is in effect the chorus, even though it doesn't repeat, we get that I'm sorry at the end. Last line of the song, I'm sorry, which he might as well be saying, please don't go. You've got no reason to be here, but please don't go. And it's just, I think it is a triumph of songwriting. This is a rock solid, good album, and it certainly doesn't deserve the lack of respect it gets, either in record sales and whether it's freely available in your local record store, but also among fans who tend to say, yeah, that's his weird album, that's his late 70s album, yeah, you don't want to listen to that one. Oh, my friends, you want to listen to Randy Newman's Born Again. You want to listen to all three of these albums, even if you're not particularly big fans of the group, or of the artist, I should say. You need to listen to Freeways by BTO. You need to listen to Speak of the Devil by Chris Isaak. And you need to listen to Born Again by Randy Newman. All three are available on streaming services. I checked that before I started. And I strongly recommend all three. And so those are some albums that I think of when I think of underrated albums. What do you think is underrated? Drop that comment down below. I always love hearing from you. If you enjoyed today's video, thank you for that. I'd appreciate it if you'd click the like button. While you're down there, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you've not already done so. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to me, so I appreciate it very much. If you do subscribe, click the bell for notifications. The YouTube folks appreciate that, so on their behalf, thank you. And again, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope the rest of your day is jubilant. See you soon.